Blue Lagoon in Norwich.
Yeah.
Like best weather kind of thing. I knew it would be like
Let me know we get moving. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and on behalf of our company, the Supreme Cruises, we'd like to welcome you on board Stella. So we are leaving Sliema Creek and we are going to be cruising by the two main harbours that we have on our island, Malta Harbour and the Grand Harbour. So we are going to start from the Grand Harbour of Malta. Later on we are going to proceed to Malta Harbour. The commentary of the views is going to be always on our right-hand side, but until we enter the Grand Harbour, we are going to hear the story about the geography of Malta and even about the night of St. John. So until we enter the Grand Harbour, we are going to find the sea a bit choppy, so please remain seated at all times for your safety. Safety information about the boat is fully secured. At the back of this cabin you can find the life jackets, and on the upper deck you can find the life rafts. Life rings, they are located around the boat. So that's why we closed upstairs for today for safety precautions for your passengers and also for the boat. We have a bar on board, so later on during this cruise our friend Michael is going to be around with you. So for those that they would like to buy something from the bar, we have the cheese lager and some Maltese beer, waters and soft drinks. We have the local Maltese homemade wine, coffees and hot chocolate. So for now, thank you for joining us and enjoy yourselves.
When studying the map of the Mediterranean, children are often asked to draw a horizontal line from Gibraltar to the coast of Syria and a vertical line down the middle of the Mediterranean, from Sicily to the African coast. They are shown that the two lines cross at a point which is very close to where Malta is located. The Maltese archipelago lies virtually in the centre of the Mediterranean. This simple fact has been of paramount importance in shaping the island's history. If you look beyond the horizon on a very clear day, you can sometimes see the coast of Sicily, which is 93 kilometers to the north of the island. Libya, in North Africa, is 288 kilometers to the south of Malta, while Gibraltar is 1,826 kilometers to the west. Tel Aviv is 1,930 kilometers to the east. Malta's varied and colourful history, which spans over 7,000 years, is clearly a result of its strategic position in the Mediterranean. Over the centuries, a succession of foreign conquerors ruled the island until Malta gained independence from Britain in 1962. We will soon be leaving Marsamxett Harbour and heading out towards the open sea. While the Mediterranean Sea is often quite calm, it is a well-known fact that it can become very rough without much warning. Strong winds and high seas are common in this area. So, let us briefly take a step back in time. The first inhabitants of the island must have braved the waves and crossed over from Sicily using rafts or simple vessels, such as dugout canoes.
Fresh air.
Who are these knights, and why did they come to Malta? The order dates back to the 11th century. It was originally a monastic community of hospitallers who cared for sick pilgrims in the Holy Land. Due to the Crusades, the order was obliged to take on military defense, and this was added to its hospitaller mission. Based in Rhodes, the order built a powerful fleet, and many famous battles were fought in the Eastern Mediterranean for the sake of Christianity. The knights were forced to surrender Rhodes to the army of the Sultan Sliema in 1522, and they were left without a territory. When in 1526, Emperor Charles V of Spain offered Malta to the knights, they reluctantly considered it as a possible alternative to Rhodes. An 8-man commission was dispatched to Malta to report on the nature of the island. The commissioners reported, and here I quote, "The island of Malta is only one continued rock of soft sandstone. The surface of the rock is stony, unfit to produce corn. Except for a few springs in the middle of the island, there is no running water. Wood is scarce, but there are several ports or capes and places with foreign bays and coves in which ships may anchor. There are 2 spacious and very good harbours in the island, capable of receiving the largest fleet. The convenience of so many ports, so convenient for the armada of the order, make us be of the opinion that the Emperor's proposals ought not to be rejected." On 26th October 1530, Grandmaster Lila Dam and the Knights of the Order of St. John entered the Grand Harbour on board the carrack Santa Anna. This was the first ever armour-plated vessel and was under the command of Sir William Weston. On your right is Fort St Elmo, an example of a building which was important for the Knights' military function. Next you will see a long building with green shutters, which was the hospital of the Knights. This was important for them to continue their mission of helping the sick. More will be said about these later, but once again, we will ask you to imagine this area devoid of all fortifications and buildings. There was a small watchtower at the end of the ridge on your right, and the only building of significance at that time was a small castle on the promontory directly in front of you, and which eventually became Fort St Angelo. Proudly in command of the Grand Harbour, this port's history quite simply reflects the history of Malta through the centuries. Way back in the 16th century, the Mediterranean Sea was not a safe place to be. Corsairs and pirates ravaged coastal areas regularly, and from Malta, the Knights would organise lucrative raids on vessels in the area. With Fort St Angelo as their headquarters, the Knights swiftly turned Malta into an efficient naval base. Churches, palaces and stores were built in the area known as the Three Cities, which is on your left. We will soon visit a number of creeks for a better view of these cities. In 1557, Jean Parisot de Lazzaretto was elected Grand Master of the Order, and during his tenure, the number of raids on non-Christian shipping escalated. The Barbary Corsairs were proving to be a major threat to the Christian nations of the region. Grand Master Lazzaretto knew that an Ottoman attack was imminent, and with the support of the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, the islands were prepared for battle. The fortifications in the area were strengthened, and stores were filled with supplies. 18th May 1565 marks the beginning of the 4-month-long battle known as the Great Siege of Malta. The Ottoman fighters are said to have numbered over 40,000, including their elite units of professional soldiers and mercenaries. The Knights and the Maltese, numbering a mere 9,000, put up an incredibly defiant fight under extremely difficult conditions. While the Knights' stronghold was at Fort St Elmo on your left, the Ottoman fighters set up camp on the ridge to your right. Winter was quickly approaching. Supplies were getting dangerously low, but what really determined the outcome of this siege was the arrival of the long-awaited Catholic reinforcements. Victory for the Knights was declared on 8th September, an important feast day on the island which commemorates the birth of the Virgin Mary. Once the celebrations were over, the Grand Master quickly embarked on a number of ambitious projects to further fortify the harbour area, ever fearful of a retaliation by the Ottoman Empire. The peninsula to your right and Marsamxett Harbour had been used successfully by the Ottoman army to gain a strategic advantage over the Knights. To overcome this, plans were quickly drawn up for a fortified city to be built here. On 28 March 1566, Lazzaretto led the solemn ceremony of laying the foundation stone of this city, which was to be named after him. In 1571, the Knights left Fort St Elmo and Vittoriosa on your left, crossed the Grand Harbour, and moved into the newly built city of Valletta. The next landmark on your right is the elegant church of Nice. In those days, the only entrance into Valletta was from this point, and all the galleys would have berthed at this wharf. The city was built according to the design of Francesco Naparelli and included fortifications, watchtowers, wells, and windmills. The Maltese architect Girolamo Cassar designed the auberges, the magisterial palace, the conventual church of St. John, and many of the major buildings in the city. Beautiful gardens were eventually added, and just above the bastions you will be able to see one such example. While the arches were built in 1661, the upper Barrakka gardens were built at a later stage for the recreation of the Italian knights. This is Pinto Wharf. In the 18th century, Maltese traders were well known as far afield as the coast of Spain, and specially constructed warehouses were made available by the Grand Masters to traders and shipowners. These 19 warehouses were built in the mid-18th century under the patronage of Grand Master Pinto, and with the adjoining chapel, offer one of the most splendid Baroque urban settings on the island. The chapel is dedicated to the flight of the Holy Family to Egypt. The suburb of Floriana is on our right-hand side. This was built to further strengthen the fortifications of Valletta. This next wharf has the delightful name of Wine Wharf. A 5-star cruise liner terminal has been developed along this coastline. Modern facilities are available against a background of the historical bastions. By the end of the 18th century, following more than 200 years of continual building activity, the Hospitaller Knights had created a vast network of stone fortifications around the harbour area, which was transformed into one fortress, with the city of Valletta in its centre. Both the French Emperor Napoleon and the British Admiral Nelson were very interested in the benefits offered by Malta and the Grand Harbour. In June 1798, on the pretext of requiring water and supplies, Napoleon sailed to Malta on board his flagship, L'Orient. The once mighty order put up little resistance, and Napoleon became master of the island. In just a few days, he reorganized the legal system on the lines of a republic, made significant changes to the educational system, and took a large quantity of treasures from palaces and churches before setting sail for Egypt. It is believed that these treasures were on board his ship L'Orient, which sank during the Battle of the Nile against Nelson's fleet and still lie on the seabed in Egypt. The Maltese wanted to oust their French overlords and dispatched a petition to the King of Two Sicilies and to Nelson. Help finally arrived. On Admiral Nelson's orders, Captain Alexander Ball sailed into Malta in October of 1798. The French capitulated after 2 years, and in September 1800 they left the islands. In 1803, Lord Nelson wrote, "I now declare that I consider Malta as a most important outwork to India, that it will give us great influence in the Levant, and indeed all the southern parts of Italy. In this view, I hope we shall never give it up." Britain's possession of the islands was officially recognized with the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1814. When the islands were taken over by the British, they found a population attuned to a life bound to the sea, as well as an infrastructure that complemented the requirements of their powerful navy. The Royal Navy employed skilled seamen, rope makers, carpenters, and sailmakers, many based in this area. The British expanded the maritime facilities introduced by the Order of St. John and established new ones, such as the dry docks and the massive breakwater at the mouth of the harbour. Throughout the 19th century, Malta prospered from increased trade, and the port facilities in this area were converted from solely being suitable for mercantile activity to an efficient military base, providing facilities to the large number of British naval ships berthed here. Another significant development at the time was the advent of steam engines at the beginning of the 19th century, with coal as the primary source of energy. In 1848, the British Admiralty's first dry dock was built. During the Crimean War, which took place between 1853 and 1856, Malta served as an important military station and a supply depot of foodstuffs and ammunition, as a repairing yard, and as a base hospital. Local papers carried the news of Florence Nightingale's stop in Valletta on her way to Scutari. There was a huge demand for mementos of Malta and Valletta Harbour. Various artists, one being the Neapolitan artist Girolamo Gianni, fulfilled this requirement by settling in Malta in 1868 and painting the various harbours and British ships.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so for those passengers that they would like to buy something from the bar, our friend Michael is going to be around with you. So after local beer, local wine, waters and soft drinks, coffees and hot chocolate. Thank you.
The heights on our right are known as the Corradino Heights, and this is the place where the British used to store their ammunition during World War II. The cliffs beneath these heights have been excavated and are now full of man-made caves. The rubble was intentionally placed on top of these heights so that when the enemy's bombs were dropped from airplanes, they would explode on rubble, causing as little damage as possible to the ammunition stored inside these heights. The decline in the economic situation continued in the years after World War II, and the importance of this significant harbour diminished significantly. We can now swiftly move to the present day. A number of factors have contributed to bring about a more positive outlook for the island's maritime services. Yachting, cruise liners and ship registration are amongst the activities that have grown in the past decade. Substantial investment has led to the development of the island's transshipment operations. The freeport in Delimara offers facilities for container handling, oil storage and bunkering. The Grand Harbour extends 3.6 kilometres inland and enjoys two very significant advantages. It is a naturally deep harbour with an average draft of 12 metres, and it can be used right through the year by very large ships. Its 3.5 kilometres of quays are capable of handling all types of cargo. Malta is located at the heart of all offshore oil and gas activity in the region, and is within a short distance from major offshore platforms. The Cordian grain terminal along this wharf offers facilities for the handling, storage and transshipment of free-flowing grains such as wheat, maize and barley. With an ever-increasing number of cruise liners visiting the island, this harbour is once again on the centre stage. Sailing into the harbour surrounded by its fortifications is stunning, and being able to disembark just a short distance away from Valletta, a World Heritage Site, is a great attraction. Several refurbishment projects have recently been completed, such as the Valletta waterfront and Vittoriosa waterfront, which we will visit shortly. Departing from the Grand Harbour, a regular ferry and catamaran service links Malta to several Italian and Sicilian ports. Malta is often used as a stepping stone for European and Western companies into Libya and the rest of North Africa. Having very briefly traced the history of the Grand Harbour to the present day, we will now visit a number of creeks of great historical importance and get a better view of the three cities. Reference will be made to different periods in Malta's history. The Knights made this area their home for the first 41 years of their stay in Malta, and French merchants used to anchor in this creek, hence its name, French Creek. The area was converted into a naval dockyard during the British period, which significantly affected the local economy. Today, Malta Shipyards Limited offers a substantial range of products. The facilities are spread over a number of locations, namely Cospiqua, in this creek, Marsa and Manoel Island. These yards offer ship repair and conversion services, working on tankers, cargo carriers, passenger liners, luxury yachts and offshore units. Today there are 7 dry docks, many of which are in this creek. Here one finds a dedicated covered dock and an area which services super yachts, known as Somerset Dock. A number of super yachts have chosen Malta as their base, attracted by the mild climate and advantageous location. One such example is the Malta Falcon, a superyacht said to be the largest and fastest personal sailboat in the world. The magnificent three-masted vessel can occasionally be seen gliding majestically beneath the fortifications. On our right, we can see the first of what we call the three cities, Senglea. It is named after Grand Master de la Senglea. During the Great Siege of 1565, the Turkish forces directed their attacks on Senglea. However, the Turks were unsuccessful in their attacks, and the town Hamilton North. It was here that during World War II the ship HMS Jersey was bombarded by enemy fighters whilst undergoing repairs. The ship was subsequently fixed, but unfortunately it hit a mine with a great portion of Barrakka, which had out on the first Harbours. The HMS Jersey sank and still lies on the seabed. HMS Illustrious was also bombarded in this creek. Due to the fact that Senglea is close to the dry docks, much of it was destroyed in World War II. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Admiral Cunningham of the Royal Navy were convinced of the strategic importance of the island. Convoys of merchant ships carrying essential supplies were bombarded incessantly by Axis fighter planes. In 1942, there were 154 days of continuous day and night raids, mostly targeting the harbour area. The situation was desperate, with supply levels reaching critical levels. Finally, on 13th August, a few supply ships managed to make it into Malta, and on 15th August, the feast day of Santa Maria, the Brisbane Star, and the battered oil tanker Ohio entered the Grand Harbour. King George VI of Britain visited Senglea in 1943 and witnessed the devastation. On 8th September of the same year, Italy surrendered to the Allies. The story goes that a naval messenger delivered this news to the parish priest as the procession with the statue of Our Lady of Victories reached the marina. This victory coincided with that of the Great Siege, and on such a special day in the Maltese religious calendar, as we go round the peninsula, you can see a beautiful vidette, or watchtower, with sculptured reliefs of an eye and an ear. Locally, we have a proverb which, when translated into English, means, "The air has eyes, and the walls have ears." This probably meant that the person on guard in this tower had to be all eyes and ears for what was taking place in our harbours. The name given to this next creek by the knights was Galley Creek. Today this is known as Dockyard Creek. It is from here that one can see all of the historical three cities. We have the town of Senglea on our right. Deep down in the creek, we find the town of Cospiqua and the town of Vittoriosa on our left. An interesting fact is that all three cities have local names, that is, Isla, Bormla and Virgo respectively. They also have a collective name, Cotonera, due to the fact that in 1670, owing to the fear of an Ottoman invasion, a long line of fortifications were built on the landward side to encircle all three cities, known as the Cotonera Lines. The building with blue windows was designed by architect William Scamps. It was formerly a British Navy bakery. It provided bread and biscuits for the Royal Navy. Grain silos were built around the harbour area to support the requirements of the Navy. This building now houses the Maritime Museum, which charts Malta's maritime history within a Mediterranean context and also portrays the global nature of seafaring and its impact on society. Exhibits range from model ships to lavish ceremonial barges built for the Grand Masters. Deep in the creek is what is referred to as Dock Number 1, originally constructed by the Knights as a slipway. This was also the first dock to be built by the British Navy in the 1840s. In the Grand Harbour you will also see a number of typical Maltese boats. There are ones which resemble the Venetian gondola, and some also function as water taxis and are readily available to take passengers across from here to Valletta. The Maltese name for them are dayes. Today, these traditional boats ply in between the slick yachts that berth in this marina, some on a brief visit, some on a longer stay. From a marina of galleons, warships and a dockyard, it has developed into a yacht marina mainly for larger yachts. This is Vittoriosa. One will find auberges, a hospital, churches, law courts, and other palaces which were built to meet the requirements of the knights who made this their base for the first 41 years of their stay in Malta. Its fortifications are fine examples of military architecture of the time. This beautiful church close to the shore is dedicated to St. Lawrence and was the conventual church used by the knights prior to the building of St. John's Co-Cathedral in Valletta. It is worth noting the 8-pointed cross or Maltese cross high up on the facade of the church. This is still a symbol of the order. In front of the church is a monument to commemorate the termination of the military contract which existed between Malta and the United Kingdom. This was on the 31st March 1979. The Vittoriosa waterfront, previously known as the Marina Grande, is something special. Its imposing 16th, 17th century palaces, such as the old treasury buildings, today house restaurants and wine bars. With its views of the Grand Harbour and Marina, it is especially impressive at night. This palace, just on the waterfront, built by the famous Lorenzo Gaffar in 1680, was the residence of the Captain General of the Order of St. John. Today, it is the Casino di Venezia, one of Malta's casinos. Archaeological evidence indicates that since prehistoric times, this bridge to your right has always been an important site. It is traditionally held that the first settlers to the islands built temples in honor of their gods here. According to legend, this fort is built on the site of a fortified Roman settlement. Strengthened by the Arabs, the Normans and the Spaniards, Fort St Angelo immediately became the headquarters of the Order of St John. The castle was first referred to as Castrum Maris. After considerable modifications over the years, it became known as Fort St Angelo. In 1607, the artist Caravaggio arrived in Malta and within a year became a knight of the order, but this was very short-lived. On 6th October 1608, records show that he had been imprisoned in Fort St Angelo, but had subsequently escaped and disappeared. It is a great mystery how he managed to do this. What is known is that he absconded from Malta and died in Porto Ercole in Tuscany shortly afterwards. This fort also served as the headquarters of the Royal Navy from 1903 till its withdrawal from Malta in 1979. Its distinguished British commanders included Lord Louis Mountbatten. The Allied invasion of Sicily was, in fact, planned from here.